making money is the last thing. So if you start with making money, you'll not make money. You'll actually lose money. The Kenyan mind is programmed. We're not programmed to plan for the future. I would encourage any parent to take that education policy. It works, it helps you. What you do with the education policy, it's a forced saving. Because having the money, making bad decisions when you have money, you can talk yourself to anything.
Yes.
Never be afraid to acquire anything.
Yes.
Just have the confidence.
It can be
get
acquired.
a good opportunity.
If it's a good opportunity, you will acquire.
People will give you money.
Yeah.
You go practically on the ground, you try it. If it fails, fine. But at least you tried.
How do you decide the proportionate amount to pay yourself?
I cannot spend rent beyond
A certain
10, even 9% of my net amount. I can't.
You can't.
Practically, I can't. I'll faint. I work so hard for this money.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Financially Incorrect. I am your host, Barrack. And of course, if it's Friday, it's Friday, so we have a new episode and I have a new money story for you. Before I get into that, let me just tell you, if you are in Uganda, Financially Incorrect is coming to Uganda, to a place near you. I don't know what the exact venue is right now, but on the 4th of June, we will be holding a financial literacy event. And while we are there, we're going to try and get a couple of episodes with a couple of you Ugandans and get their money stories. So we already got a couple of recommendations of people from Carol Musiaka's episode, and I believe on Twitter. If you have anybody who you want to be interviewed, who you want to hear their money story, please let us know, and we will try our best to make it happen. Again, of course, all of this is brought to you proudly sponsored by FX Pesa. If you are in Uganda, please do go to the office building for any literacy classes offered proudly by FX Pesa. You can then be able to get access to global markets, and they will be a perfect partner to help you invest. Today, I have a money story literally coming from money people. And with me today, I have none other than Kenneth Mbae, who asked me to introduce him as someone who serves customers, but he happens to work at Centum. Welcome to Financially Incorrect.
Thank you, Barrack, and thank you for this invitation.
Yeah,
I'm Kenneth Mbae.
Looking forward to having this conversation. So, I think your story is really interesting. I've watched your CTA. I've watched a couple of videos of you speaking online, and I can't wait to get into it. I hope, first of all, if you're on this episode, and because of course I'm not going to recreate everything you did on CTA. So if you can, please do go and watch it. There's a lot of stuff you talk about and he talks about on that episode that I think is really important that we may not cover in detail here, but just a preface. There's something I forgot to do actually, Kenneth. So you just bear with me just for 2 seconds. I wanted to read a couple of comments from Joel's interview. Joel Rao, who's the co-CEO at Dentsu. Just a couple of comments from Nancy Momanyi, who said, totally enjoyed today's episode. Icing on the cake was a performance marketing breakdown at the end. Shiko Kaboy says, very many takeaways from this interview, and I appreciate how he's broken down performance marketing. Oh, that seems to be a big takeaway. Another one from Kelvin Ogachi, 7220, who says, interesting how certain themes keep circulating, like the education policy. Kane talked about it, and now Joel did. Also, during Kane's episode, he referenced saving 30% of your income, similar to Caroline. Great podcast, as always. So thank you guys for engaging. Please, again, keep writing your comments. Please keep telling us who you want to come onto the podcast, and we'll try and get those guests to you. So now getting into today. My first question, or first thing I talk about, is usually a bit left field. And my first question is going to come from the Centum golden rules, what they call the Centum golden rules. So when we had Kerubo on here, I think maybe 8 weeks ago, she worked at Centum and talked about working at Centum and what it was like. So I went, checked out the website and saw everything. So under there, I don't remember what the particular header is, but there's a place where you can go and look at Centum's work culture, and then there's a Centum golden rules. So I wanted to read a couple to you and ask you how those have manifested in your everyday sort of life or in your career there. Yeah. So I'll read the ones that I find really interesting. So number 3 on the rules is, we do not do tomorrow what we could have done yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that look like in your everyday? And how has that possibly changed, whether it was a transaction or something that you did that really, because you did it today and didn't leave it to tomorrow, it really changed the trajectory of things?
So thank you. And my colleague Kerubo, we're very proud to even know her.
Yeah.
She's done very well.
Yeah, she has.
She's
She
done
has.
exceptionally well, and she'll keep rising.
For sure.
So that golden rule has really helped shorten time. So you don't wait to do things next week. You do them as soon as practically possible. So things that would have ordinarily taken several days, several months are done quicker. But then you also fail because when you do something, you also get the results. So you're able to fail quickly and move to the next item. And what works, you carry on. So it gets a culture of urgency of getting things done. It has helped and even fast-tracked my career.
Yeah. I mean, practically though. So for example, I'm assuming maybe it's like we're shooting this like at almost 4 p.m.
Yes.
So if I'm looking at a task on my worksheet or whatever the case is,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this thing is going to take me 2-3 hours to finish.
Yeah.
How do you make that decision? How do you decide between this I'm going to leave for tomorrow or I'm going to finish this right now and finish it today?
For instance, this interview, I just received the call that there's an opportunity to be interviewed 2 days.
Yeah.
It was either end of April or 7th of April at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
And he just said, yes, I'm available.
Yeah.
And freed up the time. That's one example. Another example is to evaluate. Tied to that is the 80-20 principle, the one by the Pareto principle. Yeah. Just to focus on the 20% things that contribute to 80%. Like my core business is really selling, and I have to focus on the 20% segment of customers that give us 80% of sales. So I can evaluate and make that decision quickly to engage this customer or to do this event or another event quickly. So that's the essence of it.
Okay. Another really interesting one, I think, that I think I'm going to come to like is we escalate the solution, never the problem.
Yeah.
How does that manifest in the workplace?
Before I forget on the last one.
Yes.
You see, most of the time, everything is done anytime next week, starting with politicians also. Everything will be done anytime next week. Yeah. So there's a reason why it cannot be done now, and you carry on. So on that other golden rule,
yes.
On
we escalate the solution.
So it changes your mindset. So you become a solution provider. At any point in time, you don't think of the problem, because if you want problems escalated, things not done, there are many things that could make you not to do anything. But when you escalate the solution, you have to think, what am I escalating? And if I'm escalating the solution, then it means I've thought about it, I've fixed it. I'm escalating that this was a scenario. We had a problem with construction or cost, and this is what we did to bring down the cost. And actually, we made the decision, and we're escalating just a formality that it's been done. So it shortens and frees up time for everyone to focus on building the company and providing solutions.
An interesting question there is, especially being at the position of leadership that you are, what then does that mean for your day-to-day? Because, I mean, I think in the typical workplace, you're dealing with your subordinate coming and bringing an issue to you and asking for a solution or asking for guidance. So what does that, how do you live differently because of this rule?
Because I'm not creating any solutions for anyone, it frees all the time for me to then spend a lot of time thinking and just making the good decisions. And because you are working through people and through other managers, even at the graduate trainee level, they get problems because we come to work every day to fix a solution, a problem for either the market, the customer. There's something you're fixing, and you formulate the solution, you recommend it for implementation, or you implement. Then you take that to the manager, and then the manager, when they come to you, they have a number of solutions that are clearly thought out. You can only now pick the best out of it. I can imagine the inverse, where
it is problems.
It's all problems that are now being brought.
Yes.
Then you can't move forward. Yeah.
And sorry, I just really find this really fascinating, and I have two other questions on it. Have you ever encountered where someone has brought a solution to you and you have a problem with the solution they've brought, where you're like, no, you shouldn't have done that. You should have done this.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
on many occasions. You see, everyone has a mind, and first, I'm human. I have my own mind of what should have been done, and my colleagues also formulate their own solutions. You may not agree with it, but you take the grace to keep quiet and encourage that it was the best way
In
they
their
should have done
perspective.
it. Because if you don't tell them it's okay, imagine if I proposed a solution that was not done, and I was told maybe probably that's the worst idea I've had, then it takes away the motivation. You don't implement the solution. So yeah, when things come, you look at them, and based on experience or your own thinking, you think there's another way of doing it. And if I took the same to my boss or my board, they would have another solution to it. But we implement and move forward. And you can do that to your personal life and the professional life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My last question on this is, I mean, because you guys are an investment, I mean, you're dealing with money, you're dealing with a lot of money.
Yeah.
So do you have like a threshold of where associates can deal can give you solutions up to a certain amount? Like you guys can deal with problems of the 10 millions. Then at 100 million, it has to be a solution by a manager. And at a billion, it has to be a solution by a managing director or CEO level. Or can an associate have the solution or the ability to execute a solution for 100 million project or 100 million shilling idea?
No, actually, we deal with very basic things. We are dealing with building a home or building a plot, or acquiring a new property, which is not that expensive. So at a fundamental level, you're dealing with day-to-day mundane small operation, and because of the quantum, there are very many. The transactions are many. That is what makes it become a big number.
Right.
And money is the last thing we deal with, because money is an output. The input is how quickly can you reach out to the customer? How quickly can you build this unit? How quickly can you get a financing solution? Then, because if you get a financing solution, 20, 30, 100 customers will buy. That is what magnifies the number. But we start with very, very small numbers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I guess that makes sense. The other one that I definitely wanted to touch on, but I mean, if you, of course, if you're watching the episode, if you're interested about what these rules are, just go to the website, you'll find them. Is no great business was built working Monday to Friday with a 1-hour lunch break. That's rule number 7.
Yeah.
What does that like? What does that actually mean practically? Does it mean you guys at Centum don't take lunch? Does it mean you're working 10 hours, 12 hours, 16-hour days? What does it mean?
My understanding of it is we are creating value, and it's not time-based. So you're not paid for being in the office for a certain period of time. You're paid for the product, for the value you create. And in the process of value creation, you will then work. You may work for extended period of time, and you don't feel the need to take a break. Essentially, this is to change our culture from that of we come to the office, 8, take a lunch break, or take a break after every 15 minutes to either take tea or other things and leave in the evening, to we are on a mission here. We get things done by whatever means, and achieve results while moving at speed. So lunch break, dinner, they don't become hindrances to us performing, but we really enjoy life.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, in that sense, and I think you referenced this in the CTA, but I don't know if you spoke about it. Burnout. I mean, this rule in proportion to potentially getting burnt out, it seems like it could be a slippery slope to fall into just deliver, and not necessarily take psychological, mental, what they call the mental health breaks, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever been burnt out, and how did that manifest? How did that look? What did that look like?
I don't know if I've ever received any burnout, but I don't, because we are not doing hard physical work. Your work is spent in either reading, thinking, and coming up with different solutions. So you're most of the time you're just exercising, let me say, your brain cells, which I'm not aware of anyone who has gotten a headache out of reading or thinking. So you will not experience, I think, burnout, because there's nothing that is pushing you as such, and you're free to work from anywhere, anytime. But the excuse is it needs to be done. So you're in that culture of I sort of, my work life and my personal life are integrated into one.
Right.
Yeah. But we do take leave, but rarely, and we and we enjoy what you're doing personally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. The last thing I was going to ask, and again, we talked about this a little bit before the episode started, is because when Karuba was here, she talked about earning a bonus,
Yeah.
and earning a bonus that was her annual salary. And I got, since that episode, I've gotten a few people asking me,
Yeah.
at Centum, they genuinely give guys a bonus of your annual salary at the end of the year. So I said, the next person who's from Centum who I will have here, I will ask and find out, how can you qualify for us what that looks like?
Yeah, those were the old good times.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was there back then. I think when the economy and many things were happening and exits were being done. Where the economy is and where the performance is now,
Yeah.
we are not at that level. But I hope we can go back there. But there were good
But it
times.
was there were the good old days, as I
There were
guess.
good
we would
old
say.
days,
Yeah.
and it was public information.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I guess getting to your story, right? Maybe you can give us a bit of context of where you grew up, how you grew up, and what money as a commodity was like where you grew up.
Okay, I think I've repeated this, but I grew up in Kenya. I grew up in Nanyuki.
Yeah.
I was born and brought up there, went to school there, and then came to Nairobi for further studies to Kenyatta University, and did my undergraduate degree, and then started working immediately after graduation.
Right.
And even before, after high school, I was doing some bit of work. Growing up, my understanding of money was meant to be taken care of, and you take care of coins, and then the notes take care of themselves.
You take care of coins and notes take care of themselves.
Yes.
Okay. Are you able to explain that to me?
So you have to take care of the lowest amount of money. And if I can use the village example, if you take a shilling out of 1,000 shillings, it's no longer 1,000. That will be 900 and something.
Yes.
So you have to take care of that,
shilling.
the shilling of the coin.
Because then you have 1,000.
Then you have 1,000. So
Okay.
if you take care of the smaller amounts, the big amounts
will
take care of themselves. Yes.
Okay, that's an
Yes.
interesting lesson.
Yeah.
I mean, a nice methodology as well.
Yeah.
So you worked at, if I'm not wrong, you worked at the golf club at some point,
Yes.
right? And I believe you were being paid about 7,000 Kenya shillings at some point when you're working
Yeah.
at the golf club.
Yeah.
I have two questions for you around the golf club. And this is both, I guess, while you were working there and now as a professional.
Yeah.
There's the myth around deals being made at a golf club and high net worth individuals, being in those kind of spaces and making, and that's where like deals happen. And so
Yeah.
I think there's a thing about certain professionals, when you get to a certain level, you want to get a certain membership, whether it's to a club or a certain community, because you want to be in those places, because you also feel you'll be able to drown out business from there in one way or another. Myth or fact?
It's a fact. And the reason is, as I say, your network is your
Net worth.
net worth, and you have to map out where people hang out. So in any society, I think the affluent and the people who make decisions seem to hang out in golf clubs or in affluent clubs. So if you want to get to meet them, then that is where you go. So maybe in a town like Nanyuki, you'll find the business people there, the bank managers, the senior people there, sort of are members of a club. And if you want anything, that would be the best place. You meet them when they are relaxed and you interact. Out of that interaction is what may become a business opportunity or a follow-up meeting. Summarized as a deal done, but I don't think I've not come across a deal that has been done on a golf course. Maybe what can be done is a meeting, a confirmation of a meeting, maybe a difficult person who you may not be able to find. If you call the reception book to find them, you may not find them. But if you went there for a game of golf, hanged around, you may find them in their relaxed mode. Then they'll introduce you to someone else, and that's how a deal is put together. But I'm not sure you can cross a deal in the golf course. I've not come across one.
Yes.
I hope to come across one.
So, I mean, do you think then it's a worth it investment for someone who's maybe, middle to sort of upper management and is looking to, move up in their career and stuff? Do you think a golf club membership or a membership like that is a worth it investment to move your career forward?
No, I think it's worth based on your own needs. What do you want? Are you there? Do you want to access a place where your family can access for your kids can play golf, your wife can have an activity to do, you can go for gym and other things. So I think you need to look at the personal utility, not the career growth. No appraisal. What
will be based on whether you are
no.
So are you part of a golf a club?
Yeah, I'm a part of a club which I don't go to because there's no time. I rarely go there, and when I'm there, no one knows about me, and people sit on their own corners. So I go there and I don't go back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But for convenience, if I need a meeting, I may secure one. But I wouldn't, my own analysis, I wouldn't recommend you to join one.
I mean, because some of those membership, I mean, they're not cheap.
Yeah, it's an investment.
Yeah.
And you have to recoup the return out of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing I'm wondering. I mean, some of it, you're paying $1 million in subscription or over $1 million per subscription.
Yeah, so you have to be deliberate about it. What's your personal utility out of it right now? Where can I find Barrack? If I need someone who can interview me for a podcast, I need to hang around.
Find me on the road.
No, I have to. I have to hang out where you are found.
Yeah.
So if you're a member of a certain society, then I can become part of that membership. I can find Barrack and many others in that ecosystem. Now I've been interviewed by one podcast, which was by force, pushed through by my team. Now I think this is the fourth one. So
it's like a snowball
There's a
effect.
Network that has worked. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This question is coming from the episode that I had with Carol Musioka, where she said she talked about the car that she was driving when working a corporate job, and the fact that it was, it's been paid for by the company. When she left the job, she left the car. Is it the same with, like for example, your corporate membership? Is it because are you a part of the club you are because it's part of the benefits you get of the position that you're in, and that if it was you, Kenneth, on your own, you would not pay that subscription?
No, I've not been paid for any membership by anyone. I've just paid it myself.
Yes.
I think I should check if the benefit is there. Then I check. But even the car, I don't think anyone has a car that has been bought by the company. Maybe the salespeople and the GMs of the other businesses.
Right.
But what I drive is what I own. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess we'll get a bit more into that. I want us to go back to sort of your journey. So I know again from your story, you start earning 7,000 shillings. You save up and buy a bike to help you sort of commute easier, faster. And then at some point, once you come to university in Nairobi and you keep going back to work at the golf club when you're on holiday, at some point your salary gets to, if I'm not mistaken, about 30,000 shillings. Do you remember that? What was sort of going on at that point in time, what your responsibilities were, and what you were doing with your money?
So when I was at the club, earning some money, of course it's farther away from home. I used to walk. And then just an entitlement idea, asked my parents if they could buy a bike. Then they were shocked. Why? If I feel uncomfortable walking and I'm being paid, the clever thing to do is just to go and buy the bike yourself. But I think it's taught me that you have to accumulate and then buy what you like. So I sort of saved a bit and enjoyed that money in campus and in life there. I don't remember anything else I bought outside of the bike. It's there even now. It's at home, but I don't remember anything else that came out of that.
Of the money you made during that period.
Yes.
Okay.
Then I joined Centum. I think my first salary was that 24,000 shillings. Managing that parking, there was nothing to be saved.
Okay.
I don't remember having any savings there. Yeah.
Okay. What's the next sort of monumental, what's the next shift in your career when you move from 24,000? What's the next salary shift that you get to?
I think it got to 100. Yeah, it got to 100 and then kept going. Yeah,
it kept going up. And as you're making the 100,000, what different things are you doing with your money at that point?
Okay. Your taste, your preference, the neighborhood you want to stay, the sort of couches you want to be on, even you start having ambitions. So I started increasing my sort of lifestyle. So moved to a better house, bought a few things. In hindsight, I should have saved more. Yeah.
That's a conversation we were having before this actually, and you were saying that I think what you said is you've been working for 15 years.
Yes.
If you could go back in time,
yes,
you would save the 10,000, at least 10,000 bob per month.
Yes.
And that would have given you a lot more income than because you think you talked about buying cars you didn't need or things that you didn't particularly need to spend money on.
Yeah.
And you'd have a lot more money now.
Yes.
In terms of like investment and stuff that.
So so I would have started from day one, saving a portion, maybe starting at 10,000 shillings every month, and making it either in a passive income investment. If you take a calculator and take 10,000, and then at an average net return of 9%, for 15 years, that would have been 3.8 million that is there. But of course, there's been growth over the period. If I'd done that, maybe I would have retired now with a good enough pool to survive on.
I think when we were talking about it earlier, the thing that interested me was how you were saying in hindsight, the 15 years or 10 years seems very short, but we seem to struggle to project the same amount of time moving forward. What do you think the barriers for that are?
So I think it's our mind, the human mind or the Kenyan mind is programmed. We're not programmed to plan for the future. Maybe you're programmed to think about what has just happened, rejoice a bit and maybe complain a bit about it. So that's why I can say it's hard to see 2030, which is 5 years from today, but it's easy to recall 2020, which is precisely 5 years away from, 5 years back.
Yeah.
So what I've changed is to plan take a view of the future and say what would 2040 look like under the same circumstances, and how much, maybe what wealth, what sort of lifestyle, what sort of activities do I need to be doing 15 years from today, and what sort of revenue should I have to be comfortable, assuming you're healthy and you're there then.
Yeah.
I think in the news 2 or 3 days ago, I saw Warren Buffett retired. So I got a bit more curious. Of course, I've been watching what he does. So he was born in 1930. He became a billionaire in 1986. I think that is when his net worth was $1.4 billion. He was 56 years. Today, when he retired, I think he was worth 168 billion, right? So if you take out the 1B from 168, 167 billion is made precisely in the last 39 years or 38 years thereabout. So it's been compounding. If he retired in 1986, you'll never have heard about him. Never even have known who the fellow was.
Yes.
So that tells me if you form a foundation that is solid, at some point in future, the power of compounding in your cash can have phenomenal impact.
Yeah.
But if you have nothing, there's nothing to compound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I think drawing from that big lesson is by the time you're maybe 50, you have accrued some base of cash, and then the compounding will just be quite easy to sustain your lifestyle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
When you begin to, in your career space, when you begin to be more intentional about how you're spending your money, what's the philosophy that then you decide to take on? Like what how do you then spend your monthly salary?
So I've thought about it. You work for many people. So you first work for your landlord. You work for Carrefour, the supermarket. You go to shop. You work for Kenya Power. You work for Total, all these petrol stations. If you need to fuel, you work for other people. So what happened? And government of Kenya.
Yes,
So,
of course.
So your salary is deducted at source, or your revenue is deducted at source. The net you get, you pay rent, you pay loans, and you're left with now the remainder of the balance, which if you're not careful, you also enjoy, because you're also in this life to enjoy. And then you wait for the next paycheck or the next deal, or when the money comes through. So the first person I've put in this that I work for a guy called Kenneth Mbae, who must be paid immediately after government. So if the money is at source, the net money I get, I pay myself first for having worked, for having done all that hard work. I pay Kenneth Mbae. Then now I pay everyone else. This pool from that Kenneth Mbae is paid is what I continuously allocate in investments. So I can invest in money market. You can pay a deposit for a unit. You can take an insurance policy. Then after I've paid down all these people here, we're in this life to enjoy. I'm not waiting to be 60 to enjoy. You can then buy yourself something nice. You can take a holiday. If there is surplus, then you pay yourself again. That's what I wish I had thought that way initially.
How do you decide the proportionate amount to pay yourself? How did you come? Is it like 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%?
No, I like to pay myself 17.5%.
17.5. That's a very precise number.
Yeah, because I think 83. So 83%, I think, is where A starts.
Yes.
so I want to be in that category.
Yeah.
Yes.
So from your net revenue, from your net amount, you pay yourself 17.5%. Which then
that's my own.
That's your own. Yes. Then the rest now you're paying
everyone else,
the landlord, whatever. Yes. And no, those figures, does it matter? Is there a proportion to those as well, or those ones you will pay them?
No. Of course, I have a budget.
Yes.
I cannot spend rent beyond
a certain
10, even 9% of my net amount. I can't.
You can't.
Practically, I can't. I'll faint. I work so hard for this money. Now you're talking about work-life balance. Yes. That's my money balance.
You said you worked so hard. There's no way you're giving.
There's no way. No way. So I have a budget line for everything. So long as that budget line is met, I'm okay.
That's really interesting. What other, the ones that you can share, I don't want you to go into whatever. Yeah. What other principles do you have on your personal budget? I really like that 9% one. Maybe I will borrow it.
It can be beyond 9%. What that helps me, even if I get a increment additional revenue, I won't change my neighborhood.
Yes.
I won't change my lifestyle. There's nothing that I'll change fundamentally. I constrain to save because of the future I want to sustain. So basically, maybe up to compounded everything, maybe it should fit between 38 to 40%
in terms of the
expenses now, everything. Okay. Then you're left with some money there to save.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you also need to have some liquidity.
Okay.
And you need to have some emergency fund.
Yes, of course.
Just in case there's a career earthquake, the finance guy doesn't
Do you
show
know there
up.
was a tremor today, apparently?
Yes,
Did you
yes,
feel it?
yes,
I
yes.
didn't.
I thought I was fainting or something. So I was really,
Yeah, anyway, we felt it. I guess a couple of guys felt it. Yeah.
So I'm saying,
Okay.
if there's a career earthquake, if your finance guy doesn't show up end month,
Yeah.
you don't start getting blood
blood
pressure
pressure
not
problems.
cooperating. So you need to have some pool
Yeah.
to help you survive.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how soon into your career journey did you pick up this philosophy? How long has this been your philosophy?
Maybe in year 3, year 4.
Okay. So it's been
I started creating that philosophy.
Yeah.
Because I think when you check the wealth, even in Kenya, most of the wealth is controlled by business people, by guys who are self-employed. The rest is with people who have maybe done people who are sports people or musicians.
Yes.
But the rest depend on a pay slip. So for you to form this body of wealth or body of capital that you can use to do business, you need to accumulate it one way or another. And because I'm working, it's through
employed.
savings and a bit of investment. That is what has informed all those. So I wanted to know how much capital can I accrue so that when you take risk, you're not worried, will my family survive? Will I survive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last question on this, because again, I don't want to be too intrusive. What's the difference between the 17.5% and the remainder after you've done the 40% and sort of all of that? What's the difference between that investment and this other investment?
17 I can't touch it. 17 is what I'm paid.
Okay.
That I'm paid, that is not available for anything. What I save from the balance, I've paid everyone and I'm left with some money. I can say, I'll take my family for dinner, for holiday. I'm married. If you want to remain happy, you have to keep surprising someone. So you have to have some.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So
I think I have an interesting question for you because I also know from the episode that you have 2 children now, and this I'm asking. I hope it's not very forward, but I'm asking from a schooling perspective against your desire to spend a certain amount of money on certain things.
Yeah.
And I'm also asking it from the background of you coming from Nanyuki, growing up in Nanyuki, going to school in Nanyuki. Do you have a certain amount of money a certain percentage that you are unwilling to spend even for your children's school in proportion to how much you're making?
No.
That one is unlimited.
School fees should not be affordable, according to me. Because the only investment I can give my kids is education.
Yeah.
And that is education in school, education out of school, and that is what will last them for future generation. So evaluate where is the best school, what is the best education, according to me, that they can get for the period I have control, and that I try and give them.
The best that you can.
That I can.
Okay.
But it's easy because you can go and take an educational policy. I took when they were 6 months or 4 months, and then it matures in year 7. You pay, it's difficult, but when that matures, the insurance is the one that pays for another 10 years. So they pay, and if you take them within the band that you've done, let's say it's 50 or 100K, and the insurance pays you the 50, you can match the school. So for the next 10 years, you have no strain on school fees.
Yeah.
I would encourage any parent to take that education policy.
Yeah.
It works, it helps you.
Yeah.
Then if you want to take them to campus, during this period, when you're not paying, you take another insurance.
Yeah.
So that when that one is maturing, this one is there.
Yeah. A question on that, right? On the education policies, because we had, I don't know if this episode will have aired before Peter Nduati's episode airs, but Peter Nduati swore against, if I remember correctly, education policies, and he said, there's better returns you can be able to get. And I'm seeing that you're a very quick math guy, so I want to ask, if you took the same amount of money and invested it in a 9% something annual return, whatever, vis-a-vis the education policy, is the education policy still more, in terms of the return that you get, more beneficial than the potentially like a money market 9% return?
No, it's much raw. What you do with the education policy, it's a forced saving because having the money, making bad decisions when you have money, you can talk yourself to anything.
Yes.
You can have the amount there for school fees, and you convince yourself, I need a brand new car. And anyway, this money was mine.
After
all, by the time they go to school, I'll have more money.
Yeah.
But when you have the education policy, if you don't pay, it lapses. So you're forced to save this money. The other return that you can't count is the psychological benefit of knowing I have school fees for the next X number of years. And should anything go wrong with my health, should I get unwell, should I go to my maker, these people can carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's I guess that's a factor, because I think I have heard the same said to me by a couple of friends who say, the biggest benefit is really more, I have really poor discipline, and if I had access to that money, one way or another, I would find a way to spend it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I want to move into again, in your journey, you talk about, and even before this podcast, and maybe you'll talk about it a bit more now, you talk about how the best investment you've ever made is investing in yourself.
Yes.
So maybe you can to talk to us a little bit about that. Plus, also this course that you went to study at Harvard.
Yeah.
How much did it cost? Because you didn't say how much it cost on the interview. You just said at the time you couldn't afford it, and you made a deal with the company that if they paid it for you, you'd then guarantee them 4 years of service. Yeah. So what did that look like? What was that whole scenario situation?
So on that specific course, I think was $63,000. What you pay to the school, it's paid upfront. Yeah, the dollar was exchanging maybe at 105. So it's 7-8 million shillings.
Like this.
Then plus flight, plus accommodation, and other things. Let's say 10 million. So it was quite expensive. Yeah. But also there are these routine courses that you pay for yourself, online, virtual, all those courses. Some you pay and go for training. You buy books. So any continuous investment in yourself, I think generates a decent return. It might not be instant, but the knowledge you have, the insights you form, the analysis you're able to do, the networks you develop, then contribute to that return.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I feel investment in yourself
is the best thing you can do.
And
in fact, there's a line you give in the CTA, and sorry if I'm referencing the CTA a lot. Yeah. It is where I got it, and it is where you talked about this, and I have no problems giving credit where credit's due. You talk about separating opportunity from financing.
Yes.
It was a line I wanted to come to, because you sort of said it like, if there's an opportunity, it's an opportunity. Then you figure out the financing a little later. And I think it was a preface to how you even negotiated this deal with your employer.
Yeah.
Are you able to maybe just give us a bit more around that philosophy, separating opportunity from financing? And if you've been able to apply that philosophy in any other personal space or any other professional space?
I apply it every single day.
Yes.
So I don't know about this podcast, but when you're setting it up, if you had thought about the cost of doing all these things, I don't know, maybe it would have been too expensive to even think of setting it up, because someone would ask, why invest that amount of money? How will you make money? It would have just been not viable.
Yes.
But if you separated and said, I want to do the best financial education podcast, people will come, advertisers will come, many other, it will help us mobilize capital. Then the financing element of it, if you went to anyone, they can see it's relative to what is getting out there is not much. That's one example. The other example is, if I had taken that school, that education thing, and figured out fast, from the brochure, you can see the school fees is $63,000. I don't have the money, but I applied. Yeah. You first apply and you get in. Then you come and convince everyone it's very hard to get into this institution. I'm in it. I'm in that institution. The best thing is that you support me to complete this course now.
This course. Because you're halfway there.
it's prohibitive at the onset to start.
Yeah.
Even today, I walk somewhere, I want to, let's acquire a parcel of land and have 0 shillings anywhere.
Yes.
And you just negotiate the location, you negotiate the terms. Then you just say, I may be able to raise 10% deposit in the next 14 days. Then you come look for 10% deposit. Then now when you've done that is when you go to the bank and say, look, I have this very nice idea. The value of this property is 10 times what I'm buying. If you fund it and I can afford the monthly deduction, even the security is 10 times what you're charging. And there are very limited opportunities like that. The people who are now pursuing the financing are more motivated than you.
Yeah.
So never be afraid to acquire anything.
Yes.
Just have the confidence.
It can be
get
acquired.
a good opportunity. People
If it's a good opportunity, you will acquire.
People will give you money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it must. I mean, coming from someone who's at Centum and who's been at Centum all their career, there must be some truth to it.
Yeah.
What was that negotiation like with your employers when you're now at the table and actually sitting across from them and telling them, look, this is how I want to go about? How did you practically get them to agree to what you were proposing?
I can't remember the details.
Yes.
But I shared that it's one of those very rare occurrences.
Yes. For it to happen.
For it to happen, it happened. And I'm happy to be here for another 5 years. You can tie me up. What is a mismatch here is just the financing. Not that I won't have the money.
Yes.
It's just a timing issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a timing issue.
Because the money will come.
I can save and have that money.
Yeah.
But now the cost will not be waiting for me.
Yeah.
So if you help me, we can connect the timing issue.
Yeah.
You're also not going to ask for this without being a performer. So I've demonstrated some results. I've done some work, and every organization says talent is our asset.
Yes.
And here is an asset that, if trained, will become a better asset. So I think there's an alignment of interest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And many other, even Kerubo followed that.
Yes.
She was a beneficiary of it.
Yes.
After I went.
At INSEAD.
She went to
Yes.
Harvard Business School.
She went to Harvard and then INSEAD. But she said she wished she had gone to INSEAD first and then Harvard. Anyway.
However, she followed me, and then there were others. So and the others even going now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's really interesting. Yeah. And so, did you have to pay back Centum the amount of money that they paid as well?
They made a fortune. Yes. The skill set I got, and now we've applied it since then. We made.
They've made a fortune.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone has made. They have made a fortune.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I want to get into what you refer to as the Vipingo project.
Yeah.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've understood, at this point in time in your career before Vipingo, you've achieved a number of things. There's a feasibility study that's done for a piece of property in Vipingo, and initially it is proposed as an industrial sort of project. There's a big project, but the industrial part is supposed to come before the residential stuff.
Yeah.
And there was a period in time where you needed to then go down, or someone needed to go down and get this thing going.
Yeah.
And so you ask your boss, and you say, give me 6 months to go down here. You convince one other person to go down with you to try and get this project done. And the thing that I find interesting about how you gave your story is it seemed like your salary was not guaranteed when you were going down to Vipingo. And essentially you were going to go in like a proper entrepreneur. You are going to try and figure out this enterprise and make it happen. Yeah. So I wanted to understand how Centum works in that way, vis-a-vis good ideas and being given the leverage to go and run an investment or run a project, and what that period was like for you within those months when you're setting up the Vipingo project.
I think I had the insight and maybe a strong conviction it will work. I don't know. I thought it would work. And as they say, when you see an opportunity, you just grab it. So I saw the opportunity. There is no leadership. There is someone who is required, and I can be a cheaper alternative to just try as they look for someone. And if I wait, this person will just show up and they will do it anyway, but we'll do it under them. So I thought I take the risk, and to sweeten the deal is to say, if it doesn't work in 6 months, I can come back. But if you failed, you can't come back. So people, we say we like failure, but if you fail, I don't think you're coming back. So we took the risk. But with my colleagues, I think we had conviction it will work. And the worst was just to try and find out, and which is the philosophy I try every day. Yeah. Even this is to try and see.
And to see, to see what happens. Okay.
Yes.
Maybe maybe you can try and summarize, because I know the full sort of story because of the other episode. But maybe you can try and summarize just how entrepreneurial, or the entrepreneurial tactics you had to employ to get that project off the ground.
Okay. So Vipingo is a sisal plantation, bare with nothing. There is a vision to create a city, ground up on it. There is the capital is with people. The money is with people, and there is an opportunity to set up a city. So we are sent there on the ground to try and do projects. So you sell land, you then put up industries, or you sell land, you design houses, you sell off-plan. If people buy, you build them at a profit, and you make a return for the business. So we went when it was bare land. We put up an industrial park. We did the roads with the assumption people will come. They never came. So we moved to building houses. We did a simple design of apartments and villas, and started selling off-plan. And because we had, there was no customer that is guaranteed, we spoke to everyone we could. We advertised widely, wrote letters to almost every CEO. You have to think where you can get your customer. So we tried to figure out how to get that market segment. And luckily, within the first 3 months, we're able to sell. Now it's a city that has taken shape. Yeah.
Practically, what does it look like to sell out? Because I think I think if I remember correctly, you sold 440 apartments within those 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Like on the ground, what did you physically have to do to sell out those 440 apartments?
First, confidence that I just found out a rare opportunity for you to own a home in Mombasa. Ordinarily, these holiday homes are selling for 20, 30 million and even 100 million. But we happen to have one that is 2 million shillings, which is a 1-bedroom apartment. And that 2 million shillings, you just need 10% deposit, which is 200K. And then you pay over 24 months. We'll do construction, but it's cheaper to stay there when you're on holiday in Mombasa than to be in a hotel. And when this house is completed, it may be worth 5, 6 or 7 million shillings, and you can use it as a holiday home in perpetuity. You tell that story to 50 other people, at least one will be convinced.
Yes.
Then now you get the first investment. Speak to a circle, you speak to chairmas, you advertise on media, you get inquiries, people, you perfect the sales pitch. So we are just selling a better alternative that is cheaper, because holiday homes were too expensive for people to buy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think at this point, maybe I want to see, or I want you to talk to us a little bit about what you may have learned or picked up from some of the leadership that you're working under, from the late Ruby to your current boss, or current sort of group CEO at Centum right now, James Moyer. And I just wanted to understand, what are some of the, I'd say, key lessons, especially around the ability to make money, that you've picked up or you've learned from them?
Okay, so making money is the last thing. So if you start with making money, you'll not make money. You'll actually lose money. So there is an opportunity for everyone to create wealth. People make money in every sector throughout. In this podcast, there are very many, and everyone is making money. In real estate, there are very many companies. Everyone is making money, and many are also losing money in each of these businesses. The first is to identify a need that people are that something that serves people and people are prepared to pay for it, and you create that into you formulate that idea that there is say demand for our homes in Mombasa, and you can sell to people and they can use it as already homes or the alternative areas of residence, and as you do it you can make some money out of that. Then you first believe it can be done. Then you take the necessary steps. You do a plan, you take the necessary steps to implement it. So the first lesson is the conviction, just having a strong belief in whatever you're doing, that it can be done. And then trying it. You go practically on the ground, you try it. If it fails, fine, but at least you tried. I think most of the times there are many reasons why this interview, maybe there are many reasons why I would not do it as I would want, but I've tried. And out of it, many things may come out of it. So that's the second lesson I've learned. The third one is you're here in this world for a certain mission, and particularly the privilege we have, we can be nation builders. We can do something that is so big that it creates jobs for many people and it makes an impact in this society. Like the housing we are doing is to provide homes to the entire population. We should not be afraid to start. And there are many people, I think you know those stories. There are very many people who started with nothing and they have done a lot out of it. Now, if you have all this privilege that we have, we can do much more. So think big. I don't want to say big.
Yes.
Think big.
Yeah.
But also implement it. Yeah.
Okay. Think big, but also implement.
Yeah.
Is there anything a little bit more maybe direct that either of them, whether it's the late Chris Kirubi or James Moya, said to you that you saw in action? Or is there anything about them that you see that you are like, this is why they're extraordinary, or this is why, I mean, because I think, for example, like, if I'm not wrong, the group CEO's salary is a public thing, and it's an incredible amount. I think like 16 million or something like that. I don't know what the figure is anymore, but like whatever it is.
Yeah.
But are there things that you see and you're like, yeah, you know what? That's why he's worth X amount per month and being paid those amounts of money, because he truly is incredible or encapsulates this special thing.
Yes, there are many things. I can't articulate most of them.
Yeah.
But maybe to summarize both is just the ability to make those bold moves on things that are not ordinary. Like now, the scale and quantum of Two Rivers and what it's been able to do. So to put together a city of that scale is not easy. At the onset, the capital required, no one has that amount of money. The size of the buildings, no one in the country.
How much did it take to start it?
It must be billions, and I don't think they were there, but they were eventually found, and the buildings are there.
Yes.
So just taking that bold move to create a vision and do practical steps to actualize it, and I see them doing it every other day. So I think that's it. That's the biggest thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sort of as we wind up, I want to specifically ask you about one thing, because you actually said this is what made you lose your hair.
Yeah.
And this was paying back the 3 billion shilling bond that Centum Re had taken. And I believe you said you were not going to get the money back from the mother company. You guys needed to figure out where that money was coming from.
Yes.
What was that process like? What is it like to lead a team at that scale, and you're trying to pay back? Because I think you said they borrowed 2 point something, and you're paying back 3 billion.
Yeah.
What was that process like that year? And you paid it 1 month in advance, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with any team, you first try and agree what needs to be done that will move the needle. What is it that in December or at the end of the year that we'll be proud of having done? We could be busy doing, even me, I could be busy doing many things. And when you ask me what I did in 2025 or 2024, I have no clue what.
You are busy.
So the biggest thing that needed to be done then was to pay off this amount, and we broke it down to the money we must have in the account every day for us to build up to that amount, and everyone had a contribution to make. But also we sweetened the deal. Whoever brings the highest amount of money, they go to Dubai, others go to relax in South Africa, and others in Masai Mara. So there was a small incentive, and every day people came to happy that we've either sold, we've gotten our customers to pay, and this money is, we are making milestones, and we were celebrating. So I requested for contribution from everyone, and that contribution the most contribution came from the most unlikely resource. So when you can look at someone and underestimate them, but they brought the highest amount of money, and they helped the entire organization pay off the debt.
To try to simplify this, do you remember what the figure was, what the daily figure you needed to meet was? And primarily, are you getting this money from selling other real estate projects or real estate properties?
I can't remember the exact number. It was too scary to think about it. And when you miss it for 3 or 4 days, that's why the air kept going. It didn't come in the sequence that it should have come. But it was a big number to try and achieve. I can't remember the exact number offered, but it was a big number. And we are more interested in now going to the detail. Where is the money? Is it in the account? How is it coming? Who is paying? Who are signed?
Okay. And this money, this 3 billion that you're raising, was separate from your operational revenues. So you still need to raise your operational revenues, and in excess now you're looking for this 3 billion.
Yes. You need to be paid salaries to last to the end. You need to carry on with projects. But that was the main big goal we are focusing on at that particular point.
Do you remember your potentially lowest day? And by lowest day, I mean a day where it felt like a completely insurmountable task in that year. Do you remember what that day was like, or what happened on that day, and what you told yourself, I guess, to wake up the next morning to go again?
There were many days, but even the day we paid, we didn't have enough money.
Oh, no.
So we made a decision to pay it. I think there was a gap of 30 or 40 million that we were waiting to get.
Yes.
And we had made a decision and said we are paying.
Yes.
And there were delays somewhere in a given bank in transfers. I knew my career is up in frames. But I don't know. Someone knows someone who calls another person and they help you fix the problem. I don't think there's a problem that is too big to be fixed. If you tell people the problem, if you're at the top and you think you're the one who can fix it and you keep it, you die with it. But if you tell your team, never underestimate anyone, they will support you.
Okay. Sorry, sort of the last questions I want to ask you is, one is, I guess, partly stemmed from the culture at Centum, where there seems to be the ability of, if you have a really good idea, you're able to pitch it, you're able to get backing for it, or approval from the board, or approval from your bosses. You're sort of given the project and so, okay, run with it, let's see what happens. I mean, before the call, we're talking about my former classmate who is running Jafari Credit. His name is Edwin Munyeri, who hopefully we'll have on this podcast coming soon as well. But my age is 33. I think it's 33 or 34. Anyway, but he's leading that team at the moment, and I think it's I'm trying to remember the figure, but it's a big figure.
Company.
It's a big. I think they distributed like 450 million in loans or something. So I wanted to talk, I guess, to ask you a little bit about that culture and doing that at what people would consider young, relatively young age, in your 30s, because you also are still at the tail end of your 30s.
Yes.
Just what that's like, and that pressure of being able to control that amount of money and being given that responsibility to deliver on certain projects. What does that do for pressure? What does that do for your personal life? Yeah.
First, I think it's the belief that the institution believes in you, that you can do it, despite your age. So that builds up confidence in you. 2 is the ability to stomach very, very many bad ideas, because you don't know what idea will become good. So you must listen to bad, horrible, tasteless ideas and then you get to the good ideas. Not maybe I generate more bad ideas than good
ideas.
but you test all of them, and then you end up with one or two good ones. So that ability to accept those ideas, and then the ability to allow young people to take those responsibilities. And because you're young, you have nothing to lose. The only thing you lose is the amount of success you could have achieved. So you go out there and implement it. Maybe if I was a bit more older, I would be more conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, as you, I guess, have so much more of your career left, what are you hoping to achieve? What does success look like for you from a financial perspective in another 10 years or another 15 years?
From a financial perspective,
Yes.
I think when I started, I've built a number that I've said, when I get this number is enough. I can survive on it, and my expenses are catered, and I can really live a comfortable life. So I don't need to be too greedy. Just live a basic life and be happy about it. So that number is already done.
You've already met that number.
I can survive on very low.
Oh.
Very low. And
Is
very
it more?
cheap.
Is it more around the
things-
survival
the
or the
things-
number that's not high?
Yeah, the things that make me happy. I'm a low maintenance character. I've taught my family to accept that, so we don't need to strain ourselves too much. But then that allows you to be left with enough to build your personal business that is of big scale. You can now take risk. You can start diversify and do something else. So the first thing, I think, just to, depending on where you are, whether you're employed or not, you may say, I need 10,000 shillings per month in my income, just the amount of money I need to survive. That means I need 120,000
for the year.
If it's 120,000, if I'm getting a basic return of 10%, I just need to have 1.2 million. If I need 100K per month to survive, I need 1.2 million, which means I need 12 million.
Yes.
If I need 50K, it means I need 600, and that's 600 or 6.6 million.
Yeah.
When you have that number in saving or in passive income, you have it in cash, bonds, whatever, money market,
right?
Whatever sources of income you have that are passive, you are already comfortable to do anything. Now you can take risk on this other side and do other businesses, start a new thing, finance new things, and you still live the same amount of life. So that's the principle I've applied.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically for you have met your number right now. So that allows you to be able to take risks with other elements of business.
Now I was going to ask
Yes.
So that's my first point of
Yes.
success. It's low maintenance. That's and not making decision based on money.
Yes.
Now with that, and with the knowledge and with the experience I have had at Centum, I can then build something extraordinary for Centum, and even for myself. I think I should be a nation builder.
Yeah.
Building something that is big enough, either employing people, creating jobs, and also giving back to the community. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's I guess as we sort of wrap up, what's your biggest financial takeaway? Like if you had to try and summarize everything you've learned and that you've been able to apply for yourself financially. Actually, wait, before I ask that, what did marriage life, or what did having a wife, a life partner, do for you financially? Did it allow? Do you feel it had a positive influence in your financial, the financial element of your life? Did it take away? Did it not make a difference?
It helps you get organized. You just convince someone to live the better life with their parents. Come and stay with you and get kids. You are responsible for them. You must provide for them. You must give them a lifestyle they like.
Yeah.
And that is not a one-off. It must be sustained. So it helps you plan for longer term. And it's the reason you're working this hard, because there are people who are depending on you.
Yeah.
So I think it helps you. So in a way, it's an investment. It has its own set of challenges, but the joys are more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and considering the kind of high pressure job you must work, I mean, and hours you must be able to put in and hours you must spend on being able to work, what does that conversation look like? Because I think even on the other episode, the podcast, you talked about going to Vipingo on your own, I think, initially. So what are the kind of discussions you're having with a spouse or with your spouse to allow you to explore some of these opportunities? I think you talked about once on Valentine's Day, getting ready for a date and getting a call from James Moore and telling you need to go to Uganda now. And you left her at Hilton and you didn't even go home and pack and went and got a flight and straight to Uganda. I mean, it sounds very, it's romanticized and it sounds very nice in terms of the pursuit of money, but practically what does that look like and the toll that takes on a relationship?
The same principle of separating a good opportunity and emotions. So you have to sell it to the family. You have to sell it to your spouse that if this is done, the benefits accrue almost to you, and it's good for us and it's good for our career. So they are convinced they have to buy into it first. So you have to package it in a nice way. The already they needed.
It's coming from here.
No, the already they needed. You book the flights. You even look for hotels. Do already the schedule. Then the financing, I'll finance it. Then you come the following day with now the financing plan. If you allow me to do this thing,
then you finance this thing.
Yeah. Otherwise, this already is not. It's not being financed. So you have to find a way. You know your stakeholder.
Yes.
And our approvals come.
Stakeholder.
You know how they approve. So anything they needed, or just if they you have to have ways of getting these approvals.
Has that principle never landed you in hot water? And I mean, completely separating the opportunity from financing, where there's a situation where it's been a really good opportunity, but now you have been unable to find, you've looked up and down, you have gone everywhere, but you cannot find the financing. That's never happened.
Many times it has happened, very many times. Now that's what causes stress because you can see the opportunity lost, but very many times it has happened.
But if you've already, like this situation, this analogy you're giving, if you've already bought the tickets, already paid, the money is already committed somewhere.
No, the tickets have been identified, they know the price.
Oh,
they know the hotel. You've already created the interest. You've not committed anything.
Right.
Then the following day now you come and say, actually, when can we pay? But this is where the money is coming from.
Yeah.
So everyone is incentivized to support this idea because it's coming from the car you needed or the whatever it is that they need. Yeah.
It's coming from here.
Yeah, there has to be an alignment of interest.
Yeah. Okay. I guess the final thing, which is what I was asking you, if you were to try and summarize whatever your financial life has been like, how would you do that? What would be your couple of sentences or things that you would say?
So I think from my observation and just looking, the skills that keep you wealthy are very different from the ones that helped you become wealthy. So getting money, the skills you need to get money are very different from the skills you need to keep money. You can make money and then blow it up. So you need to make money, feel you have it. Then you have to stop spending it, preserve it, which means it's an opposite skill for you to remain at that level for extended periods of time. So balancing those two.
Yeah. Okay, that's an interesting philosophy. I think really true and very simplified, but with a lot of impact. There's one final question I have to ask.
Yeah.
Or that I would like to ask. I don't have to, but I would like to. At Centum, because it's public knowledge what your group CEO is earning, are your salaries also open? Does everybody know what sort of everybody's earning within the building or within the space that you're working? Or is it only his that is known and the rest of you, we are like the rest of us who keep our sort of pay slips secret?
I think it's pay slip is secret, but for the executive directors, it's public.
Yeah.
But I even don't know how much he earns. I've never checked, so I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, it's for the rest. It's secret.
Yeah.
But I've not kept track
Of
on
wait, is that now?
where it is at now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is your personal opinion I'm seeking. At what point do people, and this, I guess I'm asking also based on experience on this podcast, because people are usually comfortable talking about an amount of money they are making up until I'd say like maybe like 400, 500,000. After that, it's like, well, like, no, this one now I'm not disclosing. What do you think it is that sort of leads to that? Do you think it's just that because we are in a society that we just don't talk about money, or we struggle to talk about money, or is it that not enough people have talked about it, that it's a common thing, or is it that you feel you're making a lot more money than what the average Kenyan person would make, so you don't want to be perceived in a certain way? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of many things. We don't talk about money. It's the only thing that actually almost everyone doesn't invest enough time to understand. You train very hard. You invest enough time to understand how to do your job to the best ability, but you spend zero time to know how to invest the money you're paid, which should be the inverse. You spend more time to knowing how to make money for you, the money you make, than the other way around. That's one. Then it's obvious that salaries are top secret at work, at home, because people may adjust their spending patterns based on the money you have.
Yeah.
So I think it's just been left like that in the society. Maybe with this podcast,
People can begin
to open up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I've really enjoyed the conversation. It's been very, 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 very funny, I think, at different moments, and we've learned quite a bit, and I think you've dropped some really good lines. So thank you so much for coming on to Financially Incorrect.
Thank you. I hope to be financially correct.
Moving forward. Thank you. And you guys, thank you so much for watching. Please do recommend in the comments whoever you'd like to see next, or different people you'd like to see on the podcast. We've had a chat with Kenneth. We have said we will try and get Dr. James here. Try and see if we can get him on Financially Incorrect and see what that episode would be like. But yeah, up until then, we will see you guys next week on the next episode of Financially Incorrect.